Big stretch, just like that picture we were just looking at. Good morning, everyone. I am Reverend Israel. I use he, him for pronouns, and I'm the minister of this congregation, this one, the one that you're tuning into, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster, and this is our virtual worship service on this Sunday morning, and it's so lovely to be here with all of you. I welcome all of you here. We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster, or UUCL as we like to call ourselves. Our mission is an invitation. It says, come, nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. We are a gathered community of seekers, of people seeking to make meaning in a world that is challenging and difficult and full of sorrow and pain sometimes, but we are also here to remind ourselves that there is so much joy and so much love to be found in this world too. And there is so much that this world of ours is calling us to. We are so glad to welcome all of you here into this space, whether this is your first, second, third, fourth, or 400th, or 4,000th, if that's even possible. I'm not doing my math at the moment time. We're so delighted to have you here with us. This is a space in Unitarian Universalism where we come to ask questions and to seek meaning and to recognize that we don't have all of the answers to life's questions, that we need all of us to understand and bring our pieces of wisdom and truth with us to this space where we can share them with one another, where we can uncover the mysteries of the universe, uncover what is most sacred to us, uncover our understanding of what is divine in this world, of what is worthy of our reverence and attention. We come here because we believe in making the world a better place, because we believe in affirming the worth and dignity of those that our society would have us cast aside. We come here because we believe that we need to do the work to make it so in our community that Black lives matter. We come together because we believe that love is love and love is divine, and you are free to love and marry whomever you wish. So we have affirmed the rights of LGBTQ people to exist and thrive. And we come here because, simply put, we need each other to survive. So, as you enter into this space, as we prepare to enter into this space together, I invite you all to take a moment to look around and see who you're here with. You can go to gallery view if you wish and wave to each other, knowing that we are not alone on this journey together. Wave to each other, to those who you've met before and who you know well, and to those who you are perhaps meeting or encountering for the first time, or perhaps to those who you have encountered many times, but you still have yet to fully, genuinely, and authentically encounter. May today be an invitation to you all to encounter what is divine in yourselves and in each other. And I invite us to enter into sacred space by lighting a chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This chalice, this spiritual community, shines through its mission, just as a fire shines by burning. However, we know that a fire needs fuel to burn. It cannot burn without fuel. It is the same with the human spirit, the human soul. It is the same with community. It is the energy, the passion, and the love of members of this community, of you, that fuels our mission to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. May this light remind us all of the gifts and the fire of compassion and commitment and love that we all bring to this space for all that is our life. The gladness and the sorrow, we come to this place of meaning and justice making, and we sing. and we create a world of common good to make all of our days glad. I love that hymn too. It's got like a little bit of like musical theater in it. I think that's why I like it so much. So we have, my friends, a few things that we have to talk about this morning, and they're all connected. We're going to talk about a few things today. At the center of it, I think, is the future of this congregation and the impact, the effects, the reach of its programming, of its ministry, of you and your work, your heart-centered, mission-focused, soul-filled work that we do together. We're also going to talk about uncertainty, what lies ahead, and the need for paradigm shifts in what we're doing. And I put it last on my list this time, but we're going to talk about it first, is we also need to talk about money today, which is our favorite subject, I know, for so many of you. We have to talk a little bit about money because we are in the season of Stewardship, which is our annual fundraising drive. And I know that it makes many of you uncomfortable, and it perhaps feels totally unspiritual to be sitting here on a Sunday morning and talking about money. So I have it in the beginning, not to just get it out of the way, as you might think, but to also to help us to center ourselves spiritually in what this conversation is really about. We come to this place to feel connection with each other and connection to the things that we find most sacred and worthy of our attention in this world. We come to this place, I think, to find deep meaning and purpose in our lives. And yet talking about money brings up so many uncomfortable feelings and so much feeling of disconnection and so many feelings, I think, utmost of shame for so many people. And so when we talk about money together, I want to say that the conversation is not about being bad or not being good enough. That is not why we talk about money. I want us to know that when we talk about it, it is not about trying to prove our self-worth to one another. It is not about upholding our Protestant worth ethic of believing that our worth is determined by how hard we work or how much we have. We talk about money to acknowledge that money is, as they say, the root of all evil sometimes. But why? Why is it that we say that money is the root of all evil? It's because of what it represents for us in this society. Competition, separation, social stratification, the illusion that some of us are better because we have more and others are worth less because they do not have. The illusion, the message that we need to step on others to get over and to achieve and to grab and to take. Or perhaps it is because it represents for us the tears in the fabric of our interconnected web. My friends, the money that you have, the amount of money that you have is in no way directly tied to your value or your goodness as a person or your worth. Having more doesn't make you better. In fact, actually, so I remember in seminary, there was this super subversive activist Jewish philosopher dude. His name was Yeshua in Hebrew. You might know him by his English name, which is Jesus. Maybe you've heard of him. And he basically said the opposite. In fact, he went into a place where there were a bunch of people exchanging money, and he threw all the tables over because he said those who have the most in this world will have the least in the next, or the value of those who have the most. Really, everything will be literally turned upside down. And that's a sermon for another day. We are an idealistic lot as UUs, I think. And I think that I am an idealistic person as a minister. And I'd love it if all of us could go out into the wild, into the wilderness somewhere and create a utopian community, a utopian commune where there is no need for money, where we all share and we live together in harmony and peace, and we bring what we can and we work hard and we share the spoils and none of us are wanting. And in fact, Unitarians actually did that a few times. They tried to do that a few times. You could look it up. One of those places was called Fruitlands and the other was called Brook Farm. And it's a pretty fascinating story. We've had these ideals in this complicated relationship with money for a long time, but that's a sermon for another day to talk about Fruitlands and Brook Farm. I'm not going to tell you about those right now, but go and look them up. But if we're going to engage with our world and all of its calls towards justice and love and trying to make it better, we have to engage in it, exist in it, exist in its reality, which is a reality where money exists. That doesn't mean we can't still subvert some of those values through our actions together. That doesn't mean that we can't subvert the injustices that exist in our world in little ways with each other in community. So if you are into subverting the capitalist system that we exist in, if you are into subverting the inequities that exist in our society, I think you're in the right place. So how do we subvert those things together? Well, the thing is about a church, about a UU church, we exist specifically so that each of you, so that all of us can bring our individual talents, our creativity, and so that we can build community from a place that is literally centered in our values of offering these deepest concerns of our hearts to one another. And normally in our society, our labors, the things that we do together, are commodified in every possible way. But here, our labors, our work, what we call ministry sometimes, is what's most important. And we bring those things out of love, because we want to share our love and our passion with each other. It's not for the sake of money it's for the sake of community, not competition. Here in this community, our worth is measured, or at least should be, I hope, not by profit and loss statements or by sales numbers or quotas, but about the love and the compassion and the passion for our mission that we bring. We are a place that exists to celebrate and explore our deep and unique humanity together. Outside of the normal bounds, the normal understanding of what our capitalist society tells us. It's almost like our community can be, I hope, for us, a place of Sabbath, to be with each other in our unique humanity. So, my friends, here's the very simple appeal for money. If you've got it, give it. If you have it, give it. If you've got time, give your time. If you've got paradigm-shifting, revolutionary, life-changing ideas, give those to us too. If you've got love, give it. If all you've got to offer is presence, give it. Take it. If you need these things, come. We'll provide them. We'll nurture them for you. We need all of us, whether we bring money or not. We need all of our ideas, all of our passion, all of our commitments, all of our presence. Community is nothing without people. Community can't exist without money, but it can't exist without people. And so ultimately, stewardship is not about money. It's about how to be good stewards of our institution, how to bring it forth into the future, how to feed its passion. In fact, a steward is someone that provides food, provides sustenance, provides nourishment. That's one of the origins of that word. And so what we are doing together, I hope, is then feeding each other's souls and spirits, feeding our mission, nourishing our spirits. And how must we let that mission, our spirits, our community grow and change? That's what we're talking about today. We're going to hear from some people who tell us about what makes this community valuable and also how they would like to see it grow and change to better meet its mission. So lastly, as I finish up here, I ask you just to reflect on a couple of things. Why did you come to this community? And what is it that you think makes this place life-giving and valuable? Why did you come here? Today, any day. Was it to find your true, authentic self here? To find a place to validate and celebrate who you are? To have yourself affirmed, even your doubts and your fears about religion and about beliefs and about spirituality in the world? To have a place to have your fears comforted? A place to seek healing for the places in you that need healing? Was it to have a place that could remind you that you were born not with original sin, but with original blessing, and that you are holy and lovable even in your brokenness, and you need no saving from anything? Was it to have a place to remind you that your body is nothing to be ashamed of, that your desires are not inherently sinful, that your sexuality is divinely ordained as a way to experience connection and joy in this world? Or was it to seek a place to affirm that there are so many ways of understanding the mysteries of the universe and its complexities, that they cannot be summed up in one single dogma or belief? Like I said, this place does not exist because of money. Even though we need it, it's about its impact. It's about how we feed and nourish our souls, and ultimately how we affirm each other's unique humanity. We're going to hear from Brad Weaver.
So every year as we go into this stewardship time, it's where we bring forth these testimonials, and I'm very happy to offer mine today. I just hope that throughout the coming year that we can also have other times where people testify to these things, these most important issues of why we've come here, and the most important things to us, and what we think our legacy, what we hope our legacy to be. And so today I'd like to testify Unitarian style. 7 years ago, I came to UUCL. I think I ran through the front doors, And our minister at that time, Ann Mason, I said, woohoo, I'm here. I'm ready to go. And within 2 weeks, Susan Lithgow and the membership team was bringing me into the fold, and the rest is history. Why was there such eagerness? Well, I had been a UUer without a congregation for a good chunk of my midlife. Quite simply, I lived in places with no UU congregation. That had not always been the case. After my college years, during which I rejected all forms of organized religion as a great evil, I walked through the doors of All Souls in Washington, D.C., and wow, my life was never the same. I was transfixed, and I felt that I had come home and found my people. And I've heard many other Unitarians say that as they've come into congregations for the first time. Later, in New Haven and New York, I attended congregations that I loved and profoundly molded me. But then I moved to Germany and later to Thailand, and no UU congregation was there. And the absence of this in my life was deeply felt. Now, as a UUer, I could just as easily encounter the divine and experience sacred space in the great stone cathedrals of Europe and in the golden temples of Siam. I love those spaces, and I learned so much from the various nuns and monks and priests, both Buddhist and Christian. These people and places are deeply a part of my heart. But alas, a common framework of language was missing and very hard to forge. There was so much I couldn't say or ask within these cultures where respect for tradition and orthodoxy was paramount. It meant basically being silent. And as we say, when in Rome, you know how that finishes, when in Rome. And so I became very good at listening. That was necessary lesson for me, a hard lesson, to just listen and learn. But my true inner self could not be brought out. I was missing other people as points of connection who were willing to dialogue and listen and learn from me as well. I felt that I was in a very one-sided situation. So when I came back to Lancaster County after 30 years of being away, I knew I was going to join UUCL. I knew that my spiritual, social, emotional, intellectual well-being needed integration into exactly this type of community. Sometimes I try to imagine my life without the influence of the fellow UU seekers, both past and present. I think of you often, but then when I try to picture all of you not in my life, I shudder and I have to make a cup of tea and watch something funny on Netflix to stop the bad thoughts from coming. The most important things to me at UUCL, of course, are the people and relationships. I hear so many of you saying similar things. My particular focus on this is I love to learn. I'm a teacher. I'm a lifelong learner. So I love to learn from all of you. I find you absolutely a fascinating group of people, such diversity of experiences and sources of knowledge and life stories. And I'm always edified by that curiosity, that sense of awe and wonder that I have found in every UU congregation that I've been a part of. One of the most special moments to me is to sometimes sit alone, pre-COVID times, in the sanctuary and just look up at our sanctuary mobile and look at the symbols of the world's great religions and know that I can ask any question. I can lift up any truth in those religions or severely critique it or choose to ignore it. And I will get from all of you encouragement and love and support and dialogue. That is something that's irreplaceable, but it's also a very sort of individualist type of experience. I think increasingly the most important thing to me at UUCL is that we, curious, wondering, all-filled individuals are continuing to learn and struggle to become communitarians. And I don't mean that as a pun with community and Unitarians. Communitarianism is a philosophy, an actual way of thinking and perceiving social reality. We have this individualist, this 19th century individualism pieced down so very well. And of course, that is an integral part to protecting the sovereignty of individuals. We now have to balance how we are together. When I think about the legacy that I would like to have beyond my life's existence, I hope that future generations of people that I will never get a chance to meet will stand before the world's great spiritual and philosophical symbols on that mobile and on a in a mural, great symbols that will hopefully be in our mural on our wall, and they will know that they can look to these teachings and ask any hard questions and know that they are loved and supported. My hope for this legacy is that the people who are able to enjoy this are a much greater diversity of peoples, now something beyond what many of us can barely imagine or comprehend, but which we prophetically call forth, even though we may not live to see that. Though I may not be here to see the diversity, socioeconomic, ethnic, all types of diversity that I hope for, I know that it begins in the here and now of how we are together. And so I look forward to building that community with you. Thanks.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to that life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Cool, take it.
How is it with your spirit this morning, my friends? How is it with your heart and soul? Have you made a courageous choice? Are you ready to move into a prophetic vision of the future? Or are you stuck in the past or the present? Do you need time to heal? Is your heart heavy and broken? Are you confounded, confused? Or are you joyful despite all of the pain and suffering in the world or even in your own life? We all come to this space with a myriad of complex joys, sorrows, individual truths. And we need each other to hold them, to make sense of them, or simply just to be with one another as we meditate silently on what we're experiencing. This is our well of community, my friends. It represents for us the warmth and the love that we hold each other in when we come together. And I invite you now, if you have a joy, a sorrow, or a complex truth on your heart that you wish to share, that you need to share, to type it into the chat here on Zoom or on Facebook in 15 words or less. And we will read it aloud for you so that you know you are held. We will place a stone into our well for you as well. For all of the joys, sorrows, complex truths, the things that both bless and break our hearts, the complex truths that we carry in our hearts every day, whether they are expressed out loud here or not, the complex truths that we are still processing or making sense of, and the ones that words most certainly cannot express the complexity of them this morning. For all of you and all of us, I place this final stone into our well, along with all of the others, so that we can see and know and experience the fullness, complexity, beauty, depth, despair, and joy of life. And know that the gift of community, the gift of being here together, is that we can hold each other in love amidst all of these things. For all of you, all of us, and for life itself, I invite you to take a few moments to ground yourself, to stop, to pause, and to celebrate the deep importance and beauty of just allowing yourself to be in this moment. To take a deep breath if you need to. To close your eyes, or to look around at the world as it is, or to look around at each other and know that you are not alone. To know that as we sit here this morning, even though we are still separate physically, that we are deeply connected. Not only are we all rooted in the same earth, but we share the same breath, the same air. And that we share the same air with those who have come before. That they will not be forgotten, that they are not forgotten. that all of us will join them in this earth someday. And we too, through our loving actions and through our imperfections, will be remembered too. For the gift of life itself this morning. We are here, my friends. Here together. And we keep on, knowing that there is always more love to be found. Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Here I am. A couple of quick things I want us to reflect on a little bit. Stewardship of this congregation is not just about how it is supported financially. It is about how we infuse it, invigorate it with new ideas, and how we allow it to become what it must become. How we, all of us, participate and bring our passion and for this mission that we share together and compassion for each other as we enter into that process. That is how we are good stewards of this congregation, of its future, of its legacy. Unitarian Universalism is the perfect place to ground ourselves as we engage with a constantly changing world. For it gives us the deep tools and the history. It has a deep history of constantly growing and changing with changing ideas in a changing world. Unitarian Universalism, which is a mouthful even for me to say sometimes, is a practice in trying to adapt to an ever-changing world. It is a practice in allowing complexity to exist. It is a practice in not knowing. It is a practice of looking to the natural rhythms of the world and its imperfections and its non-linear nature and its cycle. And the fact that nature does not have a center per se. It does not have a leader. It does not have one singular person who tells all of the other parts in the world in the natural world what to do. Unitarian Universalism is subversive, and it is an excellent place to exist if you are trying to adapt to a changing and growing world. Where it is also the complexity of existing in a community where there aren't neatly defined answers is a great way to be in a world. I mean, where else in the community can you find people with varying different beliefs, people who profess to be atheist and agnostic and pagan, people who follow the teachings of Jesus, people who have grounding in Jewish theology and spirituality, people who come from unchurched households, unchurched lives, people who look to nature, people who look to science, people who are comfortable questioning. Where else can you have a faith that brings all of those things together under one roof and not just allows them to exist, but celebrates them and says that that's what makes us so strong? Just like the diversity in the natural world, where there are many different bodies and ways of being, many different microorganisms. We know in nature, it is biodiversity that makes a system strong. And we know that in Unitarian Universalism as well. We come together in intentional community to do all those things. And ours is a laboratory, I propose for us, a way to experiment with new ways of being in the world. But we often, sometimes too, because we're human beings and we like to be comfortable, we get stuck in our ways of being. We get stuck sometimes. That happens. We get stuck in the committee work that we're doing here together, or in the projects that we're engaging in, or in the groups that we're a part of, that we've been a part of for a long time. So we keep doing them, and we keep doing them the same way because it's comfortable and it works to an extent. And we don't have the energy to try to figure something else new out. But I think that we come together because we want a way to feel like we are doing deeply meaningful work in the world. And so after the service today, we're going to have a conversation about how to shift our energies to something that is less structured or centered in the work that we've always been doing for however many years we've been doing it exactly the same way, in a way that allows us to put our energy into places where it needs to go, to let the energy flow like water that flows around obstacles and flows to where it needs to go, to put our energy into projects that can make meaningful change and differences in our community, to allow ourselves to nurture our souls, to water our roots, to tend them as we grow. We're going to hear from Marianne Smith, who's going to tell us a little bit about her reflections on engaging in this work, or beginning to engage in this work, and why she feels it's important.
Good morning. I'm Marianne Smith. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of this church. I also was a member of a book group where we studied a book called Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. And I'm going to be grounded in this book with my talk this morning. I'm going to start with a quote from the book. I'm going to end with a quote from the book, and there's a lot of quotes in the middle too. On page 168, there's a quote. It says, "I love trees. Big ass trees. Trees weather all storms because they're rooted. My organizing needs to be rooted. Rooted in my principles. Rooted in the love for the people. Rooted in community and a vision that extends to the skies like big ass redwoods." By Hiram Rivera. I want our church to have roots that are strong, that are deep, that connect us to each other. And I want us to be able to grow out of that. Everything for me is about relationship, about being connected to each other in ways that allow us to grow as individuals and to grow as a community. I'm going way back in the book to page 18 and 19. Adrienne Marie Brown talks about, we must make just and liberated futures irresistible. I think to solve the problems of our world right now, global warming, institutionalized racism, we've got major war going on, we have big problems. We're going to have to make a different future irresistible so that we can engage all of us, so that we have the energy to put into changing the way the world is. We're in an imagination battle is another quote from the previous page. And I think that's true. I think we are going to have to be more creative and more imaginative than we've been in the past. We're going to have to throw away the way that we've worked in the past in order for us to move forward. I'm a project manager by trade, meaning somebody else tells me what's supposed to happen and I make it happen. I organize people. I get work done. So I spend a lot of time thinking about how to be productive and how to be efficient and how to make other people productive and efficient. And I'm interested as part of our community in kind of changing my worldview. I'm practicing. I would like to practice with you. How do we throw away this striving towards productivity and instead strive towards relationship and community and being connected? I don't think striving towards productivity and all of the other capitalist ideas that our society has baked into us is going to get us where we need to be to live well as a global community going forward. So, Reverend Israel talked about using Unitarian Universalism as a space to practice, and that's what I'm hoping that we can do together. Practice a different, what I do at work, I want to be able to throw that away, and I can't really practice at work until I get a little practice under me elsewhere, at least. Maybe I can eventually, but I'm not ready for that. So there's some tactical ideas in the book that I'll just throw out here just to get you all thinking. Page 111. So she was talking about a gathering of activists. They were getting together to do productive work. And she said there was even a table of coaches to help people figure out what their role in the movement could be. How cool would that be if we had coaches in our church who could help other people who haven't found a way to fit in yet get connected and figure out where they fit in? I would have benefited from that and still would, probably. I think the other part of this that is exciting to me is in my past activist work, I have spent a lot of time trying to convince other people that what I'm working on is the most important thing in the world and they should spend their time on that. But that is exhausting, and I don't have the energy for it anymore. I'd rather show up in community, listen to the ideas that are kind of forming in the group, and then put my energy behind that. I trust this community, and I trust that we will be grounded in our mission and in, I forgot what they're called, these principles, and then I can put my weight behind what the community is doing. It feels like that'll take less energy from me and maybe be more effective, but that's not something I'm used to doing. So that would be something new that I'm practicing. It's a worldview shift for me, for sure. Here's just one more, talking about trusting each other, essentially. That's how I read it. She has a quote in here from Loretta Ross. When people think the same idea and move in the same direction, that's a cult. When people think many different ideas and move in one direction, that's a movement. And I think we are really good at thinking of lots of different ideas and diverse opinions. And if we can do that and move in one direction because we're grounded in our principles and our mission, that would be pretty awesome. All right, so I'm going to close with another quote from the book, page 9. One thing I have observed, not me, Adrienne Marie Brown. When we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love in romance that makes us want to be better people. The love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs. the love of family that makes us drop everything to take care of them, the love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. That's what I hope for us.
Yes. And I am just going to close us out with one more reading from the book as well, from Emergent Strategy. And this is another quote from Adrienne Marie Brown. And in it, she's speaking of the ways that we foster a culture of anti-nurturing and how we need to learn lessons from that to transform our culture into one that is more nurturing, of human thriving, of human love, of community and compassion. She says, we learn to be quiet, polite, indirect, and submissive, not to disturb the status quo. We learn to compete with each other in a scarcity-based economy that denies and destroys the abundant world we actually live in. We learn to deny our skills and our longings and to do work that occupies our hours without inspiring our greatness. We learn to manipulate each other and sell things to each other rather than learning to collaborate and evolve together. We learn that the natural world is to be manicured, controlled, or pillaged to support our consumerist lives. Even the natural lives of our bodies get medicated, pathologized, shaved, or improved upon with cosmetic adjustments. In this country specifically, we learn that we only have value if we can produce. Only then do we earn food, home, healthcare, education. And similarly, we learn that our organizations, that's you, are only as successful as our fundraising results, whether the community impact is powerful or not. We learn as children to swallow our tears and any other inconvenient emotions. And as adults, that translates into working through red flags, value differences, pain, and exhaustion. We learn to bond through gossip, venting, and destroying, rather than cultivating solutions together. Perhaps the most egregious thing that we are taught is that we should just be really good at what's already possible, to leave the impossible alone. That's the end of the quote. I don't know about you all, but I am so tired of leaving the impossible alone when there's so much that is possible. I'm tired of measuring success in financial terms rather than in community impact. I'm ready to collaborate and evolve together. I'm ready to engage with the abundant world that already exists before us. I'm ready to disturb the status quo. I'm ready to do all of these things. Will you join me?
May I ever use my hands for lifting up. May I ever use my voice for speaking truth. May I consecrate each day and live with joy and wonder. May I sow in peace as all the wild things do. I will ever use my voice for lifting up. This voice was made for peace. I will ever use my eyes for seeking truth. These eyes were made for truth. I will consecrate each day and live with joy and wonder. I will sow in peace as all the wild things do. There is peace on I will reap in peace as all the wild things do. Wild and precious, we are wild and precious. Life is wild and precious.
morning, everyone. My name's Darcy Pollock, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here. We take an offering each time we gather as an outward expression of our interdependence. You can support our work as you are able by texting the amount of your donation to the number on the screen or through the Give tab on our website at UUCLonline.org. We share half of our offering this month with Acorn Acres Wildlife Sanctuary. Thank you for your generosity.
My wild and precious friends. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave this on. I'm not gonna blow that out right now. We're moving from our service, which has ended its order of service, but we are moving into a time of discussion and community.